We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Let's go.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Drum roll.
Woo!
Merry Christmas to you, my neighbors. Have a happy day.
Merry Christmas to you. See, like I was expecting Christmas.
This is Christmas, and I'm dressed with an entire tree.
Very long.
Really, one thing I didn't get to do at home. Yeah.
Say what must be has to be, and Christmas is today. So
Christmas is happening.
My name is Francis Aiden, and on days like this, I love to be referred as Oyima. You know why? Because that name is synonymous with Christmas. It's the beloved of Christ, the beloved of God.
I am the beloved of the beloved. My name is Uyai, amen. The beloved of the beloved.
Is somebody jealous that I'm Jesus's baby? Like a special.
I am
Jesus's
the
baby?
beauty of the king. Hello, 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 Uyai Obong. The beauty of the king in his
Okay.
entire beauty.
No arguments to that.
Imagine that cradling baby in the men, just so cute and so cutesy and so demure.
Cute.
I don't know if you're cute. Brothers and sisters of Africa and Nigeria and Accra Ibom State, how are you doing today? It's Christmas, so an average person is at home. If you are not an essential worker like myself, an average person is at home. God so bless you, PhD, PhED. Have flickered on the lights in your area,
They took it off last night.
in your own area.
My own area. They took it last night.
I don't know about lights where I live in perpetual darkness.
Sorry
except
about
you
that.
Put on your generator something.
The
But
Lord will
then-
bless your area in 2025.
No, I will move
Light
from the area.
onto your area.
I will move from the area. I want to receive a movement from the area. I'm not interested whether they receive freedom or not. But I mean, how is it? So a lot of persons would have looked for a way to. I mean, fuel is now maybe 1,000 naira because of Christmas. So if you did like 3,000, depending on the kind of generator you run. If people use a Pass My Neighbor, a good generator, if you are a high powered person, God be with you. I'm speaking for the generality of the population. You just got a few liters of petrol and then you play music for the children, everybody's dancing around, and here you are flickering on Spectrum Television. Voila! Rise and Shine crew is here. Today we're just going to talk about a few serious stories because we cannot do without it. It's still a work day in the media where things are still happening in Nigeria. We're still breaking down conversations from the president's media parley. Several other videos that, in our opinion this morning, absolutely educative on the heel of tax reform bills, electioneering, what else? Budget issues. We'll bring that video. So quite a number of things. But today is what we call the hashtag shout out edition day. So if you're at home and you're currently watching us on Spectrum Television, this is the morning where you get to holler at us, holler at Francis and myself this morning, and we'll be sending shout out to our friends and loved ones everywhere all around the country. And of course, remember that our reach covers some parts of Africa, and you would definitely be able to be saying hello to someone in Rwanda, someone in Kenya, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, all of those kind of things. So do feel free. You see, I'm out of Rise and Shine daily character. I'm layering Rise and Shine Saturday character, so it's a fun-filled day. So yeah, we'll be calling, taking your calls, your goodwill messages to people that you love. I mean, if you want to send me a goodwill message, I'm here to take it.
Well, Joy Noel, bonjour, and ça va bien?
Oh,
It's
how
just
did
the way.
Sabia make it? How did it get here?
But I got the Joy Noel correct, right? And bonjour, that's welcome. Good morning.
Ah,
rather.
bonjour is good
Good
morning.
morning. Yeah, good morning, and then Merry Christmas. I got those two correct.
You should have
right?
looked for a way to say Merry Christmas.
But I just said it. Joy Noel.
Jean Noel.
Yeah.
Jean Noel on Christmas.
It's just Joy Noel.
Okay,
That's
Jean
all.
Noel. I want to add Jean Noel
Merry
on Christmas.
to you, for those of us who speak French. Don't ask me to go back and learn French. Gosh, that was one of the hardest part of being a
I don't know why we're on serious with those things. Had it been we knew that this is how the world would be, would have taken it more seriously. Because now, I mean, one of the things that secures you high-powered jobs is that you can speak a foreign language.
Foreign
so
language.
Just
Maybe I'll go back to my French teacher and ask him to give me a refresher course.
they should have been more serious. They should have been futuristic in their approach to teaching us French. Yes.
But they were. I know that I can still, the break came after my secondary school, because I know in junior secondary school, I got to a point of actually singing in French. I still remember a couple of songs we used to go out for French competition. Nous sommes les étudiants, les petits séminaires, nous sommes ici pour dire bonjour. Ça va les bienvenus, ça va les bienvenus, ça va
When you finish
les
interpreting.
bienvenus.
It's only the La France viewers this morning that are enjoying what you're doing.
Très bien, très bien,
Très
très
bien.
bien.
Oh, très bien.
Très bien, merci.
Merci
Okay,
beaucoup.
so it's a wonderful environment, yeah. So today we're just here to have fun, and it's Merry Christmas. Now, I woke up this morning, and the first text that popped on my screen was, "At the appointed time, a virgin will give birth to a child, and she will name him Emmanuel," which means God is with us. "And the throne and kingship of David will be upon his shoulders." That's the scripture that just popped up and woke me up this morning. Like, yeah, at the appointed time. And that takes my mind back to Nigeria. What appointed time is it in Nigeria? Yeah?
So let me tell you something. You did not come on this show today to throw shades at this nation. Please, we will not be taking any form of shades. Although some people in this country cannot afford to celebrate the Christmas because we can't afford a mood roll of rice, we will not be throwing shades. Today we are going to be grateful.
Okay. Let me clean my shit eyes and be ready.
I'm just ready.
Today we're going to be grateful. Yeah, we're grateful. Emmanuel is with us. And the beautiful thing is that no matter what happened before the coming of Emmanuel, there is that great possibility of the miracle of Christmas.
Yep.
So we can expect miracles of Christmas to happen today. It doesn't matter how big or how small. But then, what miracle are you expecting for Christmas? And I'll start with you, Uyai. What miracle are you expecting for Christmas?
What miracle am I expecting for Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
A lot. That'll be the answer.
A lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
A lot. Like, I'm expecting a lot of miracles. Like, I think the word for the a lot is for Christmas. For my Christmas gift, what I'm expecting is a shift. So I think that's the word. I'm expecting a shift. I'd already said I want to move out of darkness. Yes. I just want a shift. So anything you can think about that comes under a shift, that's absolutely what I want.
Okay. Well, for me, I have been pondering over something Steve Harvey said about setting New Year resolution. Remember, we do that thing, the bookkeeping thing, the storyboarding thing for evaluating the year and planning the next year. I started that since 1st of December. And last night when I got home from work I think that was around 11:45. Just finished showering, and then before I got to bed, those things came back. Okay, and I asked, what would be the miracle I would want to see this year? And then just then, a Steve Harvey message popped up, and when he talked about intentionality in setting the record straight, whether it is to give God thanks, and then, or it is what you're expecting. And he just said, write it down. Write it down. Write it down crystal clear. Give as much detailed explanations to what you want in the year to come. Just list them down until you get to 300. Don't stop. What you want for yourself, what you want for your family, what you want to your friends, what you want in your career, what you want in your business, every aspect of your life. You just list them. And then that just took me to a different realm where, I don't know, you must have seen that movie, War Room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that took me down to the place of listing the things that God has done for you so far, the prayers, requests that you had. And that got me to a place of searching my journals and searching my diaries. And guess what I found? In the year 2024, a lot of prayer requests that I had penned down before starting the year have been ticked off. The things I expected. And even the ones I didn't put in my prayer requests have also been ticked off. One or two have not been ticked off, but that takes me to the point of when it is the appointed time, God will bring it to pass. So it's Christmas Day, 25 days, 6 more days left to go for the year 2024. We have a lot more to be thankful for, and a lot more to appreciate God for, and a lot more to look out for, especially as the year comes to an end and a new year is about to be birthed for our collective growth. Now, if I am to go back to start this conversation with Mr. President's speech, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has continued to ask Nigerians to be patient and to believe in the renewed hope of his administration. The wife of the president has followed suit in that direction. The Senate President equally have said the same thing, that as Nigerians, we need to remain committed, remain resilient, remain relentless, and trust and believe in the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration and the fact that his policies will be able to transform lives, transform the landscape for all of us as Nigerians. Now, of course, that was the President's Christmas message to the generality of Nigerians as we celebrate the Christmas and New Year festivities. And of course, don't forget, days of holidays have been approved by the federal government and had been announced. So unless for those of us who are on essential duties, we're definitely going to have a great holiday. I remember waking up this morning and my mom was like, "Are you still going to work today?"
I don't even know how to. There's really no way to explain it. But I mean, you just have to think about it. Like the number of reactions I've gotten this morning, because I mean, by the time I eventually get home, the celebrations would have been over. Like it would have peaked. People spend this morning and by the afternoon, but by when I'm getting home today, and you have to sip into my shoe. This is my first Christmas as a married person. Alas, I'm on air with you. So the young man, he's making a lot of sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? So, but we're going to be chill and good. So just put that phone lines on the screen, and we will, start taking your calls, your word of gratitude. What are you grateful for? You want to send some good love to someone you love around the country, you send them. Whilst we take the president's speech to Nigerians this Christmas Day, of course, we'll also delve into the Christmas message by Governor Pastor Moino, Governor of Akwa Ibom State. Our leaders have sent their felicitations. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, has done the same, and these are things that we are going to be looking into. A few more, serious conversations. The fact that doctors are demanding a 70-year retirement age in new FEC memo. So they're asking to be able to retire at 70. Do you think that that's something you'd like to see, a 70-year-old doctor, trying to diagnose, trying to conduct a surgery, all of those things? Now, that's one conversation we're looking quickly this morning. We also have a rather concerning story. Federal workers are facing gloomy Christmas over delayed December salaries. So that people that have not been paid December salaries, you only want to wonder, how are you getting the Christmas done, right? So in the midst of minimum wage increments, then you didn't even see the old salary, neither are you seeing the addition. So how a family is holding up today, that will only mean that a lot of people will be upset because of the financial constraint to just be able to celebrate at whatever level that they would have. So that is a major issue. We also know that the Akwa Ibom State government, the Akwa Ibom State House of Assembly, has signed into law the 955 billion naira budget for next year that was presented by Governor Pastor Moines. So we're making progress, shifting closer and closer to what 2025 will look like for the good people of Akwa Ibom State and the likes. All right then, so let's go to the president's felicitations. What did Mr. President have to tell the good people of Nigeria?
Well, like I said earlier, the president's speech is more or less still reminding us that
bear with us.
We are going to be better off in 2025. He's also promised to take tougher decisions, and that would further help Nigeria become a better nation. But then the center of the president's message is that we have a reason to celebrate Christmas, and while we're celebrating, please live within your budget and try to manage your life within the means that you have presently, knowing very well that it's going to be tougher in the year 2025 in terms of the policy direction of the government. But whether or not we like it, we just have to celebrate Christmas. Not because we have food, not because we have drinks. I mean, chicken as of yesterday was 35,000. I had not the chance to go to the market this morning. I would have given you the actual price that it's going for this morning. But like I said, fish is an option.
But there's also 7,000 naira fish, 7,000 naira chicken. As in, the chicken is not very healthy, but it will still work in your mouth. So don't leave all this 35,000 naira that we have been talking about since last week. That is for the upper echelon of the society. If you are you will be serious, because this is Rise and Shine. So if you are a middle class person and you are up and coming, there is still chicken of about 7,000 naira and 8,000. I just heard somebody screaming in their house that, are you sure? Where did you see it? What part of Nigeria? Well, in Uyo. In some parts of the state, you see chicken for 7,000. You see for 8, you see for 10, depending where you go to. If you go to the mall, maybe that's where you see that 35,000. Or if you're looking for chicken that looks like this, then that's 35,000. But if you're looking for chicken that looks like this, with a little bit of juice, like, it will still suffice. It will still suffice, so that you don't get to cheat the children from, oh, mommy, we didn't have any chicken for Christmas. There's 7,000 naira chicken, so you can go on.
There is 7,000.
I have to advocate for others. You have on the rich divide. I'm speaking for the voiceless.
Voice of the voiceless.
Yeah.
We are about this morning. Hashtag voice of the voiceless. It's beautiful, but trust me. I mean, even if it's ice fish that you can afford, make stew with it and still enjoy Christmas. Make food with it and still enjoy Christmas. Remember, it's not about what you eat. It's about the season and the moment of Christmas. That is what takes the difference. That's what takes precedence over every other thing. But I'm hopeful that regardless of what happens, Nigerians will always find a way to cope in 2025.
Yeah, we don't want to cope. We don't want to cope. We don't want to survive. We want to thrive as a people. So whatever you and Mr. President are doing, please make sure that in 2025 we can find a way to thrive. See, when people are pushed into survival mode, it is not a nice place to stay, and a lot of Nigerians are in survival mode, and we want to really come out of that place. That survival mode, you can have PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. It would just be there. So we need to do what we gotta do. But of course, like the president has said, I think the president was even throwing shade during his media parley, talking about a friend of his that he used to have who used to drive 4 Rolls Royce, but now he's driving Honda Accord. And I was thinking, how do you come from 4 Rolls Royce? You can Google how much one is worth. How do you come from 4 to driving an Accord or driving? You guess, but that's what the president said. If I play the video, that's what you hear. Like, how do you come from 4 of that to that? I would think like if you come from there, you come like here, right? There are cars that are here, right? Well, that's what the president said. So like his economic policies, he's also shrinking his friends. But I had a thought in between, but I'll not share it with you. But well, the president in his Christmas message tells Nigerians to pray for their leaders and to serve diligently. I'll just look at a few more things. Of course, the president in his speech seeks prayers for brave troops, insists that the nation is on the path of progress towards a bright future. Of course, some other key highlights from the president's Jesus birthday speech. That's Christmas speech. Yeah, he offered, of course, sympathies to families affected by floods, fire accidents, or other disasters in 2024. And yeah, really, I woke up yesterday night, and I was just remembering, those in Maiduguri that had been seriously hit by the flood this year. And I thought about, calling up Panam to speak with him and just know how are the people of Maiduguri doing this morning? How is Christmas lighting up? We've seen a lot of people, private organizations, churches, government as well. We had senators delivering rice to their constituents. I hope that rice gets round to other people. Francis, I'm sure I come from a local government, and I've not seen rice.
You're not in your local government.
So is that okay? In the local government that I live, I haven't seen rice.
Yeah,
in the local government I live, the local government I come from, the one I married into, the one I work, that's how many? 4 local governments. I've not seen even a Mudu. So everybody's owing me rice. Let us deliver on that.
Well, just to attempt to address that. For the local government you work in, which is Ibiako Uran.
Which is Uran?
Uran, yeah, okay, let me know it's Ibiako Uran. The first question you're going to have to ask is, does the chairman of Uran appreciate what is happening in Uran local government area? Because if he appreciated what is happening...
Did he also have access to palliative rights?
Of course he has.
Hey.
There is literally no government appointees or no elected government official doesn't have access to rights. As a matter of fact, the governor of Akwa Ibom State had before now directed that every person who is in his cabinet should give back to the society this period. Even if it's 5 kg of rice you can afford to, the number of people you can cater for, make sure you reach out and add to what the government is doing. So the local government chairman of Uran definitely has access to that. But does he appreciate what is happening in this part of his local government area? To even say, oh, let me go to this organization and say, okay, I don't have these, I don't have much, but you guys can have these. That's the question. One. Now, leave that question to the other side. Let's go to where you're living. When it comes to paying taxes, everybody where we find ourselves will come to us. But when things are distributed based on your community, that's when people who would come to you to get tax remember that you're not
an indigene of that place. Yeah.
So that could be the reason why you've not seen the rise from where you're living.
And I have one prominent politician living on my road. I just have a problem with that man. I have him living on my road. I feel like the man is really somehow, but yeah.
So that's another one. Then from your husband.
So because even from like having that person living on that particular street in that local, like that's his local government, and he lives there. I feel like there should be some respite that the people around there get to enjoy, but I haven't seen it. But I know that maybe like later in the evening he will now open his gates, that people that live around should now come, and I know that they keep ignoring him because of his bad antecedents. Yeah.
Well, it's normal. I wish all Nigerians would do that to politicians. Maybe they will learn their lessons. And then going to your husband community. You're not living in your husband community.
Yeah, well, I just mentioned.
It will now come. And which one now?
My
own local government. You're not living there.
Forgive my father's people. But by all means, whatever this portion of the national cake should get to all of us, because we talked about yesterday, like the trucks of rice on the road. You're now wondering, where did all this rice come from? Where are they going to? Still a question. But then still highlighting some of the president's Christmas message to Nigerians. Of course, he had offered that particular sympathy to those that were affected by one thing or the other in the year. And of course, all the prominent Nigerians have also lent a voice. Now, President Bola Tinubu yesterday joined the leaders and prominent citizens to send goodwill messages to Nigerians ahead of today's celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ by Christians all over the world. Now, of course, he urged us, as I've said, to pray for our leaders. And in the spirit of the season, President Tinubu has asked Nigerians to remember the leaders and brave troops as they serve to secure the country. I remember that I have my late pastor used to do something in this season. He would just refrigerate several non-alcoholic beverages, make them very chilled. Then he drives to every police checkpoint. Very Christmas. Thank you for all you do. So that's also a way we can celebrate them. Sometimes people even cook like packed food and go to share. But I mean, in these days that we're careful, sealed beverages and all of that would be beautiful, like just to celebrate them. I just remembered that, and that's something that we get to do. But of course, several other leaders. Christmas embodies the fulfillment of divine prophecy and symbolizes the triumph of love, of peace, of unity. It is a poignant reminder that light can emerge even in the darkest time, bringing solace and hope. This belief resonates with people of all faiths. Indeed, God is with us. End of quote for the president's speech right there. And of course, he also lent his voice to the recent tragic events in Okija, Ibadan, and Abuja, which of course was deeply saddening for everybody in the country. Of course, he also earnestly prayed that such misfortunes do not revisit families and communities. Of course, lives are innocent. So, those are the words of the president.
Well, the president has said what he had to say, and we just have to make do with that which the president has said. But then, of course, what should I add to that?
What do you want to add to the president's speech?
I just said the president has said what he needed to say as a president.
Yeah.
How we take it and what we do with it is going to be the difference. For me, just keep a positive outlook for 2025 and know that whatever the presidency does, whatever policies, direction, whatever government programs initiated, whether it gets to me or not, I'll definitely do what I can to continue to, hold my hearts together. But then, in the spirit of the celebration in the Yuletide season, it is expected, or Nigerians would expect that while the president is speaking to the changes and his commitment to policies that will transform the landscape of Nigeria, we should not look down on the necessity or play down on the necessity of also making sure that things are not too tough for Nigerians, because if it is, then we're going to continue to have that conversation of people dying of hunger, starvation, of stampede as a result of people trying to get food and all of that. But it's a wonderful, year. 2024 has been an eventful year, we must say, for each and every one of us. A lot has also happened within the year, but in all of it, we still have a reason to be thankful. As the saying, that proverbial saying, "Itong amado uwem eyekomwa," which means as long as you have a neck, definitely you wear all the accessories that you can think of.
Well, moving on from that, felicitation by the president, We're also looking at the fact that federal workers have not been paid their December salaries. That is a major setback, and something that is making most people in Nigeria to be gloomy. And literally, that a lot of families are spending a low-key Christmas as a result in the delay of payment. So the question you're going to want to ask is, what happened? Why has the federal government not paid? Remember that during the president's media parley, he boasted of not having had the need to put his hands into the Ways and Means purse or the purse of the NNPC, to get some of his obligations done. But part of the critical obligations of the federal government, as led by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be to pay salaries on time. So what happens then when the salaries have been delayed? November salaries were delayed and paid into the month of December, and now December salaries, where people would hope, okay, we can use this, celebrate, take care of the families, is nowhere in sight. This is a major problem, but it has been accounted that this issue is emanating as a fault of the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation. And then some other explanations why this is the movement from the payments platform that they were using for the salaries onto a different platform. But really, some of these things in human resource management, you would say you should have foreseen what the issues would be and try to mitigate it, especially anticipating what this particular season is about. Because how do you explain to families that they need to what will I call it, cut short, or I don't even know the words, but this is troubling. But I'll take something here. Now, a civil servant, out of regard for the civil service, said, and I quote, to be very honest, I'm not traveling for the holidays this year because I don't have the money. And our November salaries came very late, and by the time we were paid, a lot of us were already in debt. We felt things would be different this December, but the reverse is the case. And that's a lot of, a lot of emotions are in that speech that was given, but in that statement rather that was given. But this is where we lay.
Well, salaries are the ways what help civil servants to get by, especially when you look at the fact that our wages are not enough to even take anybody home. So when it comes delayed, when it comes behind schedule, and especially at moments like these, and you also consider the fact and the need for civil servants to take care of their family, friends and loved ones, you definitely will see a troubling scenario playing out. But then, I think in the last 4 years, since the COVID-19 in 2020, a lot of people have not really been able to travel for Christmas. The COVID-19 did a lot to every one of us, and most persons from then have not been able to travel for Christmas. And just when the COVID-19 was winding down, we saw the different flood disasters from Bayelsa to Lagos, some northern part of the country, and all of that, further driving people into a very tight corner. The 2024, season happens to be one of the toughest. For obvious reasons, the economic changes, and of course, the fact that we are also having cash scarcity when you look at how much you have to be able to, buy money for to be able to use it. So you're looking for transportation, and if you're to pay, apart from the northern routes, which kind of make me feel like the federal government of Nigeria hasn't done enough, and Nigerians are re-echoing that. It seems like it's just one section, and even that one section is not even properly covered, So it should have even been better if we didn't give transportation palliative, and then who knows how much the federal government is going to call up at the end of the Christmas.
As what they spent on transportation palliative.
As what they spent as transport palliative, then if we had to match that up with the number of Nigerians, it might not, be able to be, it might not be tangible enough to see that the government has done anything to help make things a lot less stressful during the Yuletide season. But it's a sad narrative for civil servants who have not been paid. But there's nothing else to do.
Well, we do hope that the government, learns to do better by the people. It's really It's really stressful economically, psychologically, emotionally for a lot of families at this point. But yeah, moving on from that particular story, and I would say our hearts are with everybody who's still expecting the salary. I do hope that you don't take it out on a loved one, you don't take it out on your partner, you don't take it out on your children. Just, you know, be at peace with yourself, and let's hope that everything will be all right, right? Okay. Moving on from that story, I like this one. Doctors are demanding 70-year retirement age in new FEC memo. So our doctors are asking to stay on for a few more years. Of course, their current retirement age is at 65, and they're asking for 5 extra years. But it looks like, looking at the topography of the work environment in Nigeria, a lot more persons are asking that the retirement bar should be raised to 70. So maybe we should just consider making that. Should we make that a blanket retirement age for the workforce? In Nigeria at this point, is this something that is even relatively possible? Because we have a lot of different sectors, especially professionals, who are asking to stay on a little bit more on, a little bit more in service. So the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria revealed that the coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, is set to submit a memo to the Federal Executive Council regarding their demands to harmonize the retirement age for medical consultants to 70 years. Now we're looking at their advocacy of the universal application of the consolidated medical salary structure for medical lecturers. So they're asking for quite a number of things from the FEC as it way, but 70 years as a benchmark for medical consultants.
Well, when you look at the fact that we already have a lot of deficit and lacunas within the health sector in Nigeria, there is need for us to be innovative and inventive, creative in trying to solve that, manpower deficit. So definitely an extension of years for not just at this point, I wouldn't say just for consultants, but for other medical workers would be a good way to go to help do that. I know a lot of persons would question the strength, the agility, knowing very well that the health sector, desires and requires a lot of walking around and being very much active. So, and with advancement in age, how many persons can still be that active? But then, even when they're not that active, their presence and their professional experience can help guide the younger ones. And then their presence would also act as a guide and provide the checks and balances and the guiding light that the younger generations would need to do things right. I've been around the hospital environment a lot, and just like every other sector, most times when the bigger boys and the bigger ladies are not around, you find the younger ones doing as they please, from the nurses to the doctors to the non-medical attendants, just people who are doing one or two things within the hospital environment. So having this group of persons stay longer would to a large extent influence what is happening within the health sector. It will also help, in the program. Talking about the federal government, was talking about exchange program. So it would be our own homegrown exchange program where the older generations are still able to interface with the younger generation and still able to share knowledge, pass on wisdom and all of that before they eventually phase out. I would also at this point would join, the medical body to advocate for a lot more in terms of relationship building between the private and the public health facilities, because it seems like in Nigeria the private health facilities are on their own lane and the government run health facilities are on their own lane. So everybody's just doing their own thing by themselves and on their own, going their own way. But if we have that collaboration, I think it will go a long way in changing the narrative, aside from feeling the personnel and manpower deficit. But of course, that is not to say the government should not also prioritize the welfare and the healthcare sector in terms of machines, equipments, and welfare packages, and better work environment and all of that, in order to also facilitate the younger people. I mean, this year alone, if we are going to look at the number of people who have been admitted into School of Nursing across Nigeria, we should have, by the next 4 years when they are done, a lot of medical professionals. But then, just as they are done, a lot of them will be leaving Nigeria in droves for greener pastures. So the time is now for us to change that narrative, and it will come down to the issue of investment, it will come down to the right policies, it will come down to the right environment. That is what will build the patriotic spirit in the minds of the young Nigerians to be able to stay.
Well, would they stay is another question, and even whilst we're asking for the repatriating of some of these, medical professionals back to the country, that, dream of government alone is based on a lot of indices that we don't even know if the government is willing to actually work with. But of course, these are some of the stories. Now we have some videos that we're going to share with you this morning. There is a video out of the president's media party. And I'd just like to take that one. Two things, because it serves as a perspective video into the man, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In all of this time, we've been having conversation, and the several reactions from several quarters who keep saying to Mr. President, hey, look, Minister Nyesom Wike is going to be a problem for you in your cabinet. But then, of course, the president did not give any voice to it. It was part of the conversations that, journalists fielded to him at the media party. And he gave what I refer to as an epic response. Now, this video that we're going to play now is both for your entertainment and also for your perspective, what would I call it, shift. Just maybe just tweaks your mind just a little bit about who the man, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is. So we hope to be able to bring you that video. And then, like I promised earlier, there is the video. Now that is a Western content, talking about budget, talking about the about voting, and some really key things that we'd just like for you to take out on the show this morning. But before we bring those videos, we'll just take a quick breather, and when we return, remember that the phone lines are on the screen, and so we're still waiting and looking to take your goodwill messages to your friends and loved ones all around the country, and reactions to any of these issues that we've talked about this morning. So we'll take a quick breather, and in a moment we'll join you again and the conversation continues.
Rise and shine. Rise and shine.
for the location. Everybody don't gather for table. Some for the rice, some for the turkey. But not this much of skylight. And if you don't get to yo, I'ma make you come, I get to yo. All the people where them get to yo, make you give the people where no get to yo. Because life now one, make you do one better. If you do for brother, brother do for sister. Oh shit, this the time for giving. A very, very special feeling. God is the reason for the season. Oh. Merry Christmas, oh, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, oh, Happy New Year. This is the time to be giving and sharing. Christmas is here. Here is a messy ọdún ilé. Oh yeah, ọdún ilé. Oh yeah, ọdún. This is the season for loving and sharing. Christmas is here. Here is a messy ọdún ilé. Oh yeah, when you get there, come to my doormat. Enjoyment day, oh, make we dey flange joy. Make we dey enjoy. Time you don't reach, just send the location. You no need invitation. Plenty vibrations, make we dey flange joy. Make we dey enjoy. Mommy dey for kitchen. Daddy said we dey help. Children dey jungle over. Everybody come over. This is time for giving. A very, very special feeling. God is the reason for that season. It is the messy ọdún ilé. Merry Christmas, yo. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas, yo. Happy New Year. This is the season for giving and sharing. Christmas is here. Kérésìmesì ọdún ilé. Oh yeah, ọdún ilé. Oh yeah, ọdún. This is the season for giving and sharing. Oh yeah, Kérésìmesì ọdún ilé. I go rise, I go shine. I go rise, I go shine. In the morning I go shine. And if you don't get to yo, come on, make me come, I get to yo. Yeah, Kérésìmesì ọdún ilé. It's a time for giving, sharing. Brothers, sisters, all family. Everything is forgiven in this season. Kérésìmesì ọdún ilé.
It's the time of year, the magic in the air, snowflakes falling down, joy everywhere. I should be out in the winter chill, but you're my wish, and I'm here still. I don't wanna miss out on holiday lights, but I'm lost in you every night. I could be out where the snowflakes fall, but with you, it's the best gift of all. With you, baby, with you. With you, baby, with you. All I want is you tonight. You're my Christmas wish in the twinkling light. Everyone's singing by the fire's glow. Stories of cheer in the candles low. I should be dancing with friends I know, but the way you make my heart feel true. And I don't need a gift under the tree, 'cause all I need is you and me. With you, baby, with you. With you, baby, with you. All I want is you tonight. You're my Christmas wish in a twinkling light. Kiss me.
Of course, it's still the Wednesday morning conversation on Rise and Shine, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. My question is going to be, how many pieces of meat have already gone into your mouth? Be honest. You just have to be honest. How many pieces of meat have you like? I know that what I've really been thinking about, once I get off air, I'm going to look for a place where I can order chin chin. What I just want today is chin chin and maybe, very chilled yogurt. That's what I'm going to do for myself. So that's what I'll try and get. So, but be really truthful. How many pieces of meat? Chicken, fish, pomo and periwinkle, like we talked about. All right. Just before we wrap up with the conversation on Christmas, before we went to the Christmas break, we talked about some of the response that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu gave to a question regarding Minister Nyesom Wike's play in his cabinet at this time, surrounded with a lot of controversy. What does the president think? We take that particular video now, and you be the judge of the president's response.
You were talking about your ministers. Well, when you did the cabinet reshuffle recently, you dropped 5 ministers, you appointed 7. Now, many Nigerians thought this was too little, too late. Do you agree with that assessment? And you were asking that we should show you the example of one minister. Take Minister Nyesom Wike of the Federal Capital Territory. He is the most controversial minister in your cabinet. And in recent times, Nigerians have been crying out that he's grabbing land, he's demolishing buildings, he's acting beyond his powers. Are you concerned that Nyesom Wike could become a political liability for you?
He's a good man. Nyesom Wike is a performing minister. Nigeria lacks compliance, period. We don't pay our ground rent on time. We don't calendarize things to do. We see compliance as inconveniences. I doff my hat for him.
But the cabinet. You were talking about your ministers. Well, when you did the cabinet reshuffle recently, you dropped 5 ministers, you appointed 7. Now, many Nigerians thought this was too little, too late. Do you agree with that assessment? And you were asking that we should show you the example of one minister. Take Minister Nyesom Wike of the Federal Capital Territory. He is the most controversial minister in your cabinet. And in recent times, Nigerians have been crying out that he's grabbing land, he's demolishing buildings, he's acting beyond his powers. Are you concerned that Nyesom Wike could become a political liability for you?
He's a good man. Nyesom Wike is a performing minister. Nigeria lacks compliance, period. We don't pay our ground rent on time. We don't calendarize things to do. We see compliance as inconveniences. I doff my hat for him.
But the cabinet.
I don't know how many times I watched that particular clip, but it birthed a lot of questions in my mind. Every time I try to compare the Bola Ahmed Tinubu pre-campaign season or campaign season versus him as a president, I keep saying that propaganda is a mess. Like, propaganda will mess people up because the two individuals don't match up. I think I'm just going to keep watching that video for the love of it because, like, first of all, it's like the man is a good man. Nyesom Wike is a good man. You say that Nyesom Wike, all of us are saying Mr. President is going to have a problem with, you know, this. He said, yes, Wike is a good man. And that's it. Because even when we are in organizations, a staff could think that they're really hardworking, they're prompt, they're doing this. But the establishment, the organization, the managers do not see all of that, because hard work in an organization, in a system, in a cabinet is whatever your boss says it is. So if your boss wants you to read the 1 p.m. news in a certain kind of way, as long as you read it in that certain kind of way, that is what they term as success, as opposed to every other thing you might have learned by the books in other places and you're practicing. And that's the same thing that Mr. President is talking about. We're all bothered. Nyesom Wike, has been like, Ruben Abati talked about. He is on a spree of demolition. Some people are accusing him of land grabbing and all of that. And his principal just had to say, that man, I love him and I doff my heart for him. At this point, case settled. And if you would look at the antecedent of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you bet he knows what he's saying, right? He does.
Well, definitely. Like you said, people who interact with this president and people who interacted with the presidential candidate would have different perspective. But then the different questions that we might ask: was it staged by the APC? Was that a campaign format? Was that the personality they wanted to paint?
Something you knew that the people were going to embrace and happen. Oh, he's sickly. Oh, he's not incoherent to speak.
And that leads to more popularity.
And I haven't seen the president be incoherent one day since he got into office.
Yeah, I've not heard Balaba and Balablu and all of that. I've not seen the president, falling down or falling off, all of those things. I mean, well, it's a beautiful thing. If it was a propaganda machinery that the APC employed to get Nigerians to talk more about Tinubu, to talk more about the APC campaign, to talk more about the presidential candidate.
Further driving a strong awareness about the candidate.
Yeah, I mean, skits were made. Of all the candidates in Nigeria, how many had skits? And then in all the skits that were made, Tinubu had to be single. I remember I still have that dance video where you had, Peter Obi, you had Tinubu.
Oh, in one dance video.
In one dance video, and you had Atiku Abubakar. And the more energetic of them was always Peter Obi, And Tinubu was just that sickly old man that was trying to catch up. But now, he's not looking that old, and he's not looking sick. I mean, if you look at the presidents, I don't know, maybe one of these days we'll just do a matchup picture of the president during campaign and the president now. Let Nigerians be the judge. But I know you've already done that in your head and know the difference.
Someone said, look how fat the president is. He has a lot more flesh as opposed to the man we saw during the campaigns. Well, that's a lot. But let's move on from that. Just to give a perspective into the minds of our leaders, and because you also have to be careful about social media. Once again, I'll use the word propaganda with issues. Nyesom Wike seems to be dragged, but this is the man Nyesom Wike through the lens of the president. But let's move on from there. A wrap-up video on our very serious conversations, and then we'll begin to wind down this morning. Perspective. Some of the key issues we've talked about in the last month: budget presentation, budget deficit that is pushing the federal government to go borrow about 9 trillion naira. We've also had a serious controversy about the tax reform bill. And some of the conversations we've continued to have as a country is the functionality of the electorate. How that we need a massive education to determine where we go in terms of our democratic direction as a nation. Now this, as I said earlier, is a Western video. It's an excerpt from an interview, but quite explains an ideology we can borrow from to have a better understanding of how to approach these issues. This is purely for your education this morning. We'll just take that particular video and then we'll be back.
Boys back in the Midwest.
Right.
Governments, federal, state, and local, were only taking about 15 cents out of every dollar earned. Today, they're taking almost half of every dollar earned in the United States. And most people don't realize it because the taxes are hidden in the so-called business taxes. You know, the politician that stands up and yells, oh, let's save the little man, let's tax business, and everybody yells hooray. But they haven't figured out that every tax on business is just a part of the cost of production. And the customer winds up paying it when he buys the product. It's a hidden sales tax. There's 116 of them in the suit of clothes that each one of us is wearing.
Right? Suppose a lot of economists have suggested, and I don't know that it'll ever come to be in this country, that if they closed all of the loopholes and corporations and maybe tax loopholes and even on the rich certain loopholes and made a percentage income and made a flat fee without all of the deductions, that the government might raise as much money as they do now.
Oh, sure. And really, the loopholes, this has been overdone by the politicians, too.
No.
The bulk of the money that is taken by what are called loopholes are the legitimate deductions with which, if the people didn't have them, they couldn't pay their income tax. Interest on their mortgage, interest on the installments on their car, their property taxes on their home, if they have one, and so forth. These are, in politicians' eyes, loopholes. But we ought to have tax reform, and we ought to start by making it so simple that you don't have to hire a lawyer to find out how much you owe every year.
That's for sure. It used to be a little simplified, but not anymore.
Johnny, we live in the only country in the world where it takes more brains to figure out your income tax than it does to earn the income.
You're right.
We've gotten in the habit over the last 40 years of thinking the government has the answers. There's very little that government can do as efficiently and as economically as the people can do themselves. And if government would shut the doors and sneak away for about 3 weeks, we'd never miss them. Our biggest problem is that we have built a permanent structure of government, federal, state, and local. The permanent employees, and they've come to the place that they actually determine policy in this country more than does the Congress of the United States. Mm-hmm. There are 14.5 million public employees in the United States. That's quite a voting bloc. And the bureaus and agencies, now in Washington, I heard you talking earlier about some of the research programs. Mm-hmm. What would you say if I told you about a study in which this was called the demography of happiness? And in this study, the government found out that young people are happier than old people. And they found out that people that earn more are happier than people that earn less. And they found out that well people are happier than sick people.
That's good. Well, that's
now, this was $249,000 to find out it's better to be rich, young, and healthy than old, poor, and sick. A poll was taken recently that found out that only 46% of the people in the poll could name their United States congressman. But what was worse, 86% of those who could name him couldn't tell you a single thing that he represented or stood for.
They just knew that he represented the state. But
he was a congressman, but what's he doing while he's up there? And the same is true at the local levels of government and all the rest. But
so you're saying people really have to take an active interest, and you have to have citizen action groups locally and
let them know.
Concerned
the special
citizens
interest groups. Now, the special interest groups aren't, as everyone thought, big, powerful business interests or something that are going to persuade government to do things. As a matter of fact, I don't know anyone with less influence today in government than business. They're just a convenient whipping boy. But it's the groups that have got a particular axe to grind. You can't have a power plant because it might interfere with the seagulls. Now, I think I'm an environmentalist, and I do not agree with those people way over on the edge who pave the whole country over in the name of progress. But also, I don't like those on the other extreme that won't let you build a house unless it looks like a bird's nest. Someplace in the middle, we got to allow people our ecology, too.
Right.
Well, this kind of group, and they want their particular program. Hundreds of dollars have been added to the cost of an automobile, putting gadgets on it to clear up the air. We're the only country in the world that's set out to do it that way. When budget deficits are what's causing inflation, I don't see that there's any room to be on either side of that argument.
Yeah,
I think the answer to curing inflation is a balanced budget.
Now, how do you do that? I mean, how do you balance the budget?
Well, balancing the budget is like protecting
your
You
don't spend more than you take in, right?
Yeah, it's like protecting your virtue. You have to learn to say no.
There's got to be another way. What's the second option?
Well, no, there's some ways that this could be brought about. First of all, that limitation. Here's another one. Why shouldn't we have in addition to a simplified income tax, why shouldn't we also have a law that says that any time a legislator or a congressman introduces a spending program, he has to introduce with it a tax program to pay for it? Then let the people find out. There was a woman that, from a financial firm that was back at the President's Economic Council, and her words weren't quoted. Everybody else's words got in the paper, all the Hellers and the Galbraiths and all the so-called economists. And I have a degree in economics, so I can say this. I think an economist is someone who has a Phi Beta Kappa key on one end of his watch chain and no watch on the other. This woman said that you go to the polls and you ask the people, do they want some social service, some program that government can give? And the people in the polls are apt to read and say, hey, that sounds good, yeah. Mm-hmm. But she says that isn't exactly accurate. She says put a $100 bill in each person's hand and then show them the program and say, now, isn't that a nice program? Do you want it? Give me the $100. And she says, see what the poll says then, and how many people hang on to the $100 instead of the program.
In other words, if it's rather hidden and someone doesn't know exactly where it's going to come from.
All the government programs start $1 down and we'll catch you later. And they multiply all of those things that you were. The Office of Management and Budget in Washington, that's responsible for the budget, putting the budget together, cannot even tell you how many boards, commissions, agencies, bureaus, and departments there are in the federal government. Yeah. But all of them can pass regulations, and those regulations have the force of law. And the difference is, when you break the law, you're innocent until proven guilty. When you break a regulation, the fellow that charges you with breaking the regulation, you're guilty. Right. And if you want to take him to court and prove you're innocent, that's up to you. Right. And all of these are things that yes, we can trim the budget. There's enough fat in the federal government that if you rendered it, you could wash the world. Maybe it's time for realignment between people who might find themselves in the wrong parties. Maybe there are some people still voting. I was a Democrat most of my life. I became a Republican only not too many years ago. And I had the pleasure of telling some of those people that are saying the Republican Party ought to broaden its base the other day that when I switched parties, I didn't do it because the two parties were alike. I did it because they were different. Right. And I think that the two parties ought to stand up as to what they represent, what they stand for.
I think arguably one of the wisest, presidents of the United States, Ronald Reagan, 40th president, of the United States, and that's a 1975 interview of him. But just listening to some of the key conversations on that clip, cutting across budget, the economy of nations, a lot of things that, in my mind, we could borrow a leaf from as Nigerians. I mean, the last one sounded like, sounded like a shade to Nigerian politicians and public service officials when you're looking at most of these persons that are crafting a budget for these ministries, departments, and agencies do not even know how many of them are in existence. Remember that in the last budget, we have 2 agencies that were scrapped that, that are reflected in the budget here. So it just, the similarity, the wisdom in that, interview clip from Ronald Reagan, says a lot about what we should do. And we've been talking about this year how much responsibility people, the citizens, need to take for the development and furtherance of, their nation. And like we say, Nigerians are not yet ready to take back, the bull by the horn. The government cannot do as much for us as opposed to what we can do to move the nation forward. And that will reflect in our system of voting, what we allow to come and what we allow to stay. I just, I think it was a revelatory kind of, conversation with the 40th president. And of course, he died in 2004 at the age of 93.
Well, he was one of the, much talked about president of the American people, especially considering his cross-carpeting. Not very regularly do you get to see people who move from, the Republican to...
Like from APC to PDP, from PDP to Labour Party, then from, oh my goodness.
To YPP and back to PDP, and then he cross back to APC.
Like no political ideology and direction whatsoever.
Well, he has clearly stood for the rights of the American people, and he is widely known as one of the strongest and the fiercest of the presidents America has ever been blessed with in terms of the policies, in terms of, implementation of those policies, and how firm he was as a president. And, just sitting down and watching him, this interview is as old as, but you can still, pick wise
how relevant
it is
today,
to today's. So it shows you a president who was deeply rooted in knowledge across the different, subsectors. And like I said, he was somebody who took the liberty of learning what it meant to run a country, what it meant to be a politician, what it meant to understand policies, to understand laws, to understand ideologies, and the different templates of oppression as far as these were concerned, and how that will interplay in the running of the affairs of the country. Nigeria and the countries of the world can borrow a lift from, Donald Reagan, and definitely, implement that or factor that into how politics is played, how governance is run, and how programs of governments are implemented, especially when it comes to budget. And in a country like Nigeria, where things just happen and we laugh it off. And of course, fortunately, the National Assembly would do nothing about it. I mean, before you know it, in 2025, the budget will be passed, and the ministries that were scrapped and the provisions made for them will go to God knows where. Maybe we'll wake up in 2025, and after the budget had been implemented, snakes will swallow lump sum.
Allocated to the scrapped agency.
Exactly.
Wow, it's such a country that we actually live in. But we do hope that there is the next generation of leaders who will be able to understudy what it means to be a politician, to be a public service, official, as it were, to study what this is all about before coming into power. I'm sure we have great leaders around the world that we can all borrow a leaf from. But these were great, wise words for us as citizens, as officials, in this nation. And I do hope that one day we live in the Nigeria of our dreams. But at this point, we're going to head straight to Daily Spotlight, and let's see what's on the Christmas edition of, our stories this morning.
Well, we just quickly try and see, before we get to Daily Spotlight, while the papers are still trying to trickle in, let's take the video we're supposed to bring to you earlier on. Just talking about Christmas, the expectations of Christmas. From the biblical perspective, the religious perspective, we had a one-on-one conversation with Pastor Imobasi Jacob, who just bring you an insight of that conversation.
Period is so unique. There has never been a year without a December, and there has never been a December without a Christmas. Christmas season does not whisper, it shouts, it beckons on everybody. The weather announces it's coming. The general atmosphere, the spirit of giving, receiving, celebration, all packed up to make a bold statement that Christmas has no duplicate. It has no replacement. And it must be so, because this world needs Jesus. That's why he came. That's why the Father sent him to come and bring good news, hope to everybody, joy to the world. We sing in a song. But more than that, Christ came so that we can be redeemed from our sins. It had to come down to save man. Man could not save himself, so he had to come down and experience what we go through on earth and be able to, as the scripture says, be a faithful high priest, so that when we go to him and cry that we need a help from him, we need a savior, he's able to understand the kind of infirmities we go through on this side of life, wearing this tent and being subject to all kinds of temptations and limitations of the human flesh. So he wore the same flesh with us, but without sin. So he's able to intercede before the Father that we need help, and help has come through the birth of Jesus Christ. It's a reminder, lest we forget, 11 out of 12 months, 1 month is a big enough reminder that we don't need actually to wait for a day. But should we not be reminded if we presume that we don't know? It's a reminder for me, because even if you are not a person of faith, you cannot escape Christmas. It takes the whole of everybody, all humanity. Even if you don't even believe that he came, this season consumes everybody. Is it in the travels? People are going, to visit their loved ones. It's more than a holiday. I hear people say compliment of the season. It's more than a season. It's a unique event. Christ Mass, the celebration of Christ, the feast of Christ. So it's a big reminder that we should not forget what he came to do, to bring succor to this world, to bring hope to this world. If you look at the entire world today, the Christian world has brought civilization. Without Christianity, people were, being ruled by maximum rulers. They were subject to all kinds of savageries. But Christianity brings love, brings enlightenment, even by those who don't even profess the faith. The Christian faith illuminates the heart of man. So instead of you taking the hammer to, hammer your brother, this is turn the other cheek. He brought about the judicial system where you judge matters based on equity, based on evidence, yes, and all that. Generally leads to the improvement of the well-being of people on earth. Look at the places where Christianity is not professed. It's savagery. It's still some acts that you know that this is not from God. Even though they claim to save God, you cut people's neck, you do this, you do that, and really no love. So Christianity for me is the way. Is the way. And so Christmas comes in as a big reminder to those who should know and fail to know, and those who do not even want to know. They can't escape it. Apart from the holidays, the commercial activities, they sell their goods. Even the unbelievers sell more goods at Christmas. So Christmas has something for everybody. That's some good news for everybody. So I see it as a big reminder. I hope people will take it serious. Where we started, I said there can never be a year without a December. There can never be a December without a Christmas.
Well, there can never be a December without a Christmas, and that is one valid evidence that Christ will always come at Christmas. Whether you believe it, yesterday I had conversations with some Christians who say, after all, this feast of Christmas, it was a pagan feast that was given to us Christians, and all of those arguments. People are always going to think of argument, but one thing we cannot take out is that Christmas has come to stay.
Well, there's lots of key things that Pastor Mo, Pastor Jacob talked about, and it's key that we remember, whether you like it or not. It's a significant time for people of faith, and whichever, just like you also said, whichever divide of faith you find yourself, love, kindness, forgiveness is all there, right? So we take it. I do good, a great Christmas celebration.
Well, definitely it's expected that we have a good Christmas celebration, but no matter where you find yourself, whatever you have, share with your family, friends, loved ones, your neighbors. Even if it's a warm smile, a cup of water.
If just a warm smile, then I have a lot of that.
So yeah, what do we do?
It's going to be a day I just share a lot of warm smiles, but let's see what I'll do. The Punch. Christmas, low-key celebrations as prices soar, traders lament poor sales. We've talked about that on and on and on. Abuja traders blame fuel cost as Tinubu government pledges better economy at Yuletide. Abuja traders are blaming fuel cost. Okay, well, we had all agreed, even the NLC, that reducing it to 935 actually makes no difference. Oni's ex-wife, others to spend Christmas, New Year in Agodi prison. Agodi prison, I beg your pardon. That's such... Ooh, good thing I wanted to do gone bad kind of situation. Defamation. LPDC declines to disbar Farotimi activist leaves prison. And that was such a huge request to debar the man. And you wonder what this is about. Sharia court inauguration suspended as Makinde intervenes. Okay? Thousands throng Abuja, Lagos parks for Tinubu's reduced fares. I hope we do not have further, what do we call it now? Stampedes. And whilst all of this is going on, people are still trying to travel. Federal government workers face gloomy Christmas over delayed December salaries. Okay, doctors demand 70-year retirement age in new FEC memo. Last story here. Interpol declares 14 Nigerians wanted for human and drug trafficking.
Well,
Let's quickly look at Daily Trust and the Nation newspaper. Daily Trust still about governors. President Tinubu governors preach peace, unity at Christmas. Of course, there's a picture story of travelers all around the country. Delays overcrowding, more free train services. Expected that. I hope we don't get to another era of stampedes while trying to use the transport, system. Of course, 2025 budget calls for works ministers' aids to gulp 2 billion naira. We talked about that. I think we mentioned that yesterday somewhere. But that's the much we take there. Nation newspaper, Tinubu, we are on path to prosperous buoyant nation. Of course, we also see the Ibadan Stampede, court remands Oni's ex-wife, Hamzat principal. And Naira firms up, stock market surges after president's media chart. Interesting twist there. Okay. Oil thieves use children, women as shield, says governor. That is Doyodiri of Bayelsa State there. But of course, those are the major stories on the front of the Nation and Daily Trust.
All right, and that's all we are going to be skimming through this morning. Of course, like I said earlier, there's still matters of national concern amidst all our rice and chicken and ogbono and black soup and egusi eating today. I do hope that, we find a way to do good. Like Francis said, give a gift of a warm smile. All right, then. Thank you so much for being a part of the Rise and Shine conversation this Christmas morning. We love you so much and do enjoy the holidays.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Bye-bye for now. Happy holidays.